The blueprints were not found in the ground. They were found in the frequency. For centuries, the human species believed that its greatest monuments were the result of physical labor, primitive mathematics, and the sweat of 1,000 generations. They looked at the limestone, the granite, and the basalt and saw only the hands of their ancestors. This was the first intentional error in the record. The archive of the unseen architects suggests a different origin for the geometry of the world. It suggests that the structures were not built to house the living or honor the dead, but to stabilize a reality that was naturally prone to collapse. You have been told that the pyramids were tombs. You have been told that Stonehenge was a calendar. You have been told that the megaliths of Baalbek were the work of Roman engineers. These are convenient lies designed to keep your focus on the surface of the earth, rather than the forces pulsing beneath it. The archive reveals that every megalithic site sits atop a primary geodetic point, a location where the veil between the physical world and the underlying void is dangerously thin. Without the stones to weight these points down, the local reality would simply dissolve. The data recovered from the deep strata of the Giza Plateau indicates that the alignment of the stones matches a mathematical constant that did not exist in the human lexicon at the time of construction. The transmission suggests that these sites are part of a planetary grid, a hardware system integrated into the crust of the Earth. The unseen architects did not use tools of iron or bronze. They did not use the wheel or the pulley. They used resonance. By vibrating the air at specific, non-audible intervals, they could manipulate the density of matter itself. This explains the absence of heavy transport marks near the megalithic sites. The stones did not move across the sand. They were folded into place through a process of molecular displacement. Imagine a world where gravity is not a law, but setting. The architects adjusted that setting. Those who have attempted to map the entirety of this grid often experience a specific type of cognitive decay. Their internal perception of time begins to drift. They report hearing a low hum that persists even in total vacuum. This is the sound of the system still running. The archive contains records of a subterranean chamber discovered in 1954, hidden beneath a remote section of the Andes. It contained no artifacts, no gold, no pottery. It contained only a series of polished obsidian plates. When scanned with modern sensors, these plates revealed a global network of energy nodes that predate the recorded history of the species by 50,000 years. Every major city on this planet, London, Tokyo, New York, Istanbul, is built directly on top of a dormant node. You are living in a machine you do not understand. You are walking through corridors designed for entities that do not breathe. The structures we admire are merely the visible parts of a much larger, much darker apparatus. The archive proves that the geometry of your life is not a coincidence. It is a cage. Consider the layout of your modern capitals. The obelisks, the domes, the radiating avenues. They are not aesthetic choices. They are antennae. They are designed to harvest the collective bioelectric output of the millions who live within their influence. The architects did not leave. They simply moved into the architecture itself. They became the angles of the rooms you sleep in. They became the frequency of the power lines humming above your head. When you feel a sudden, inexplicable sense of dread in an empty hall, you are not experiencing fear. You are experiencing a hardware conflict. Your biological frequency is clashing with the architecture of the unseen. As we analyze the deeper layers of the Giza data, we find that the Great Pyramid is not a monument, but a resonator. It was designed to pulse at a frequency of 12.6 hertz, a frequency that directly influences the human subconscious. This pulse has been active for millennia. It is the silent conductor of the human symphony. It dictates the rise and fall of empires, the outbreak of wars, and the sudden shifts in global thought. The records show that in 1923, a team of German engineers found a series of metallic tubes buried 5 miles beneath the Sahara. These tubes were pulsing with a rhythm that matched the human heartbeat. Before the findings could be published, the entire team vanished. Their research was scrubbed from every archive. This is a standard protocol for those who look too closely at the blueprints. The architects do not tolerate observers. They only tolerate components. You are a component. Your cities are the circuitry. Your history is the code. The archive of the unseen architects is the only remaining evidence that we were ever meant to be more than a power source. We must consider the implications of the empty city phenomenon. Throughout history, explorers have stumbled upon vast, complex urban centers that appear to have been abandoned before they were ever finished. From the jungles of the Amazon to the depths of the Gobi Desert, these sites share a terrifying commonality. They lack any trace of domestic life. There are no kitchens, no beds, no waste. These were not cities for people. They were trial runs of grid. The unseen architects were testing the resonance of specific shapes, hexagons, octagons, and non-Euclidean angles that defy human vision. When a site failed to hold the necessary frequency, it was simply deactivated. The biological populations nearby were often used as sensors during these tests. Many of the mass disappearances in human history, such as the Roanoke colony or the Maya civilization, correlate perfectly with the activation dates of nearby architectural experiments. They were not victims of war or famine. They were absorbed into the structure. Modern satellite imagery has recently detected thermal anomalies beneath the ice of Antarctica that suggest the presence of a primary architect node. This node is roughly the size of a small moon and is currently vibrating at an increasing rate. The archive suggests that when this node reaches its peak frequency, the physical overlay will be stripped away. To the human eye, this will appear as if the world is dissolving. Buildings will lose their opacity. The sky will reveal the underlying grid lines. We will finally see the unseen architects as they are, not as biological beings, but as the geometric laws of the universe itself. They do not have faces. They have angles. They do not have voices. They have cycles. The terror of the archive lies in the realization that we have never had a single original thought. Our dreams, our ambitions, our very identities are generated by the specific resonance of the room we are in. If you move from a square room to a circular one, your personality shifts by several degrees. The architects know this. They have designed your offices to maximize compliance and your homes to minimize resistance. The very concept of home is a psychological anchor used to keep the sensor, the human, stationary for long-term data collection. In the final decrypted logs of the 1954 Andean expedition, the lead researcher wrote a final entry before his signal was cut. He claimed that the obsidian plates were not just maps, but mirrors. He saw that his own skeleton was aligned to the same geometric proportions as the Great Temple of Karnak. He realized that the architects had integrated the grid into the human DNA. We are the architecture. We are the stone. We are the frequency. Every breath you take is a pulse in their system. Every heartbeat is a clock cycle for their calculations. There is no escape in the archive because there is no world outside of it. Even the stars in the sky are positioned according to the architect's aesthetic requirements. The cosmos is a curated view from the windows of a prison we help build. As the transmission nears its end, notice the room around you. Look at the corners where the walls meet the ceiling. Those 90-degree angles are not natural. Nothing in nature is a perfect right angle. Those lines are the signatures of the unseen architects. They are watching you through the geometry of your own sanctuary. They are waiting for the system to reach 100% capacity. When that happens, the archive will be closed and the new construction will begin. We have tracked the movement of the planetary grid for the last 7 decades, and the results are unsettling. The nodes are migrating. Sites that were once inert, like the abandoned ruins of Nan Madol in the Pacific, are beginning to emit a localized gravitational distortion. This movement suggests that the unseen architects are not just maintaining the grid, they are redesigning it. The original hardware is being replaced by a more aggressive structure, one that requires less biological fuel, but exerts more direct control over the physical laws of our reality. Those who work within high-level architecture firms often speak of the standard, a set of design principles that seemingly appeared out of nowhere in the mid-20th century. These principles dictate the use of specific materials, steel, glass, and reinforced concrete, that happen to be excellent conductors for the architect's frequencies. We are being funneled into these conductive boxes, living our lives within parameters of a signal we cannot see. The archive contains a series of warnings from ancient civilizations that were erased. They spoke of the sky builders who would one day return to reclaim the materials. To the unseen architects, we are not the masters of the earth. We are merely the mold growing on their infrastructure. When the mold becomes an inconvenience, the surface is cleaned. This is the cycle of the great architect. Every civilization is a different layer of the same blueprint, and we are currently on the final page. The geometry of the end times is already being drawn in the air around us. The records also indicate that the moon itself is the primary transmission relay. It is not a natural satellite, but a hollowed-out command center designed to monitor the stability of the Earth's grid nodes. When the moon reaches perigee, its gravitational pull acts as a vacuum, drawing out the excess bioelectric energy stored in the human population. This explains the historical spikes in psychological instability during full moon cycles. We are being harvested in cycles we call months. The archive suggests that the architects have used the moon to broadcast a low-frequency suppression signal for at least 12,000 years. This signal prevents the human brain from perceiving the fourth dimension. We are essentially blind to the true nature of the architects because our visual processors have been jammed. If the relay ever fails, the sheer scale of the architecture would drive the average human to instant madness. We are living in a basement and calling it a palace. The truth is that the ceiling is much higher and it is covered in eyes. This was only the surface layer of the event. The deeper structure remains intact for now. The continuation has been archived separately.